My name is John Lackey. I was born in Weslaco, raised in Weslaco, and came back here after college and have been here ever since in business and raising a family here in Weslaco. Let me tell you a little bit about Ted. I met Ted when we both had young children. He moved here, I believe it was in early 90s. I don't remember the exact year, but it was in the early 90s. Our children were young, and we got to know each other, I think, first on the golf course. We both enjoyed golf and both played high school golf and both played college golf. So we had a natural common ground there, and then he was a banker and I was a businessman, and so we got to meet also as it happened for business reasons, and he became my banker, my primary banker. And so that's where our relationship started. So in expanding a little more about Ted's relationship with me and mine with him, our wives hit it off, our children hit it off, they grew up together. We went to the same church. We served on boards together, we served on church committees together. We played a lot of golf together, we hunted together. So we spent a lot of time enjoying the company of the Ellises, not just Ted, but Rosemary and their children, Hayden and Vance and Katrina. Ted loved this community, first of all. I mean, he told me, he said this is where he belonged. I mean, he had been in Houston in the banking business and arguably could have risen to higher heights in the business world in Houston where he was, but this was his calling here. It was home because the golf course was down the road and he could get on it anytime he wanted. It was home because fishing in the bay was an hour away. It was home because hunting birds was 5 minutes away. Hunting deer was 20 minutes away. I mean, this was home for Ted. He loved it. He loved the community. He loved the small town feel and knowing faces in every restaurant that you went to. And this was, for Ted, this was his community, and he served it. I mean, he should be remembered for the guy that loved Weslaco and literally would give his shirt off his back. I mean, in his hardware business, when he got that going, even though times were tough, he was giving. And so remember that Ted loved us like we loved him. My message to family and friends is that Ted was called home for a reason. We don't know what that was, but he served his time here. He served it well. He loved his family immensely, and I think in the closing years of his life, that love grew both for his family and for the Lord and for his community. I think he really came to realize how important those three things were: his God, his family, and his community and his friends. And we should all remember to not wait till the end to realize what Ted did.
Good afternoon. My name is Randy Summers. I'm a past president of the Weslaco Chamber of Commerce, 2 times in fact. And I love this city, but I also love Ted. I presently am a real estate broker developer with Davis Equity Realty, and have been for 24 years after spending 15 years in banking. Let me tell you a little bit about Ted. Ted loved Weslaco. Ted loved humanity. Everything that Ted did was to try to help out and benefit others. From his involvement in the Lions Club, from his involvement with the Chamber, his involvement with the church, his involvement in his banking career. He always wanted to be able to help others. And then even in his purchase of Warland Hardware, Ted wanted to be able to help Weslaco and the citizens in Weslaco. And Ted did so much that many people don't realize. And he touched so many people's lives. And it was a great honor and a privilege to know Ted. Ted was a good friend of mine. We were in banking together. We were in Lions Club together. We were on the Chamber Board together. And we worked on various committees together. Ted was a good friend. we were able to pray together when he was going through his medical conditions. And so it was indeed a privilege to be able to know Ted, and we miss him dearly. As I mentioned a little bit ago, Ted and my friendship go back many years. In Lions Club, we were both serving as officers back during that time. And then, of course, he remained very active, and my activity in the club diminished a little bit, but he continued to remain strong, and because the Lions Club and what it did was important for him. Once again, Ted was someone who always held others above self, and he always wanted to make things better than what they were, and that with the Chamber of Commerce and the activities that I was able to work on with him, the different committees, he was always working. What can we do better? What can we do better? And how do we reach this organization? How do we reach these people, this business? And he just cared and loved Weslaco so very much, and it was always energy being around him. And even as he went through his illness, he was positive. He didn't want to have it affect anything that he was trying to do, although it did. Slowed him down a little bit, but he always had that drive and that ambition to continue on and to be a good example to others as well as his family. A message that I would like to share with the family and friends is we miss Ted, so we know you do. We loved him very much. He has a great legacy here in Weslaco, and it's every time we see Ted's Borderland Hardware over there reminds us of him and everything that he did for this community, and we love the family, and we know that his memory will live on.
Mrs. Sue Peterson, the name says it all. An icon at Weslaco ISD for almost 40 years.
Her capacity, her knowledge, and her commitment, but most importantly, her heart, all golden, all golden.
And on December 14th, 2020, a hole is left on the WISD family as Mrs. Peterson passed away. Our hearts are heavy as we mourn the loss of who we affectionately refer to as Mrs. P.
When I think about Weslaco ISD, I think about Sue Peterson and what she brought to this district and how she's left a part of herself on the staff and all the generations of students.
Mrs. Peterson arrived in the Valley and began her career at Dr. Armando Cuellar Elementary School in 1981. Understandably, moving a couple thousand miles away in a warm climate was a big adjustment for the Michigan native.
We got off the plane in McAllen and I thought I was in the jet wash. It was so hot, and the farther we walked away from the plane, it stayed that hot. I realized that was the temperature.
But rather than starting a career down here and then moving someplace else, Mrs. Peterson elected to grow not only professionally, but socially.
It's important to find a job that you love. You have to get up being excited about where you're going, because that's the only way you're going to be successful.
After spending 5 years as an elementary teacher, Peterson went on to teach at Louise Black Intermediate School. Then in the 1990s, Peterson went from the classroom into the administrative field, where she served as administrative assistant, assistant principal, and campus instructional facilitator before earning her first principal assignment at Roosevelt Elementary.
Students have to be first and foremost in your mind, and that all of the decisions that you make have to be what is best for students.
Most remember Mrs. Peterson as the principal at Weslaco East High School, which opened its doors in 2000 as a freshman campus. It will become a complete high school, graduating its first senior class in 2004.
I welcome all of you to our first graduation. Tonight we are making history.
Mrs. Peterson went on to spend 15 memorable years at the school, watching all programs grow and students excel. The campus started from the ground up and produced some of WISD's most successful scholars.
I have several friends that graduated, that are attorneys, work at hospitals, doctors and things like that. And it's because of, this school that gave so much to us and really pushed us to achieve. And it's all about what Ms. Peterson created.
She was a presence in the hallways, always interacting with students, and was committed to supporting all students in extracurricular activities, including football games.
Moments like this will always be cherished, and I will always have this on my desk to never lose those thoughts, those precious thoughts of all the wonderful things that we experienced.
For a school that's heavily populated, it didn't stop Mrs. Peterson from learning each student's name, especially the seniors. A connection with students was important to Mrs. Peterson. She was strict but fair, earning the nickname Mrs. P or Mother P.
It's kind of like your mom. Your mom can be kind of strict, but you never doubt that your mom cares about you and wants the best for you.
I know I lecture you. I enforce the rules a little more than you think necessary. I question you about your actions, and sometimes I sound a lot like your mom. But I care about each and every one of you and wish you the very best. Be the first.
And when it came to having a good time, Mrs. Peterson was always on board. She did anything, and I mean anything, to put a smile on students' faces.
She wanted to do something for the kids, and if that meant, a little giggle from all the kids, well then, hey, that's what it meant.
The school even had a twin day theme, and a few students took the ultimate dare and dressed as Mrs. Peterson.
They had on, gray wigs and dresses kind of in the style she wore, and pearls and the whole bit. And I mean, she laughed so hard when she saw them.
Mrs. Peterson always set high standards for her students and staff. Her years of dedication and experience led her to the highest recognition, as she was named Principal of the Year by Texas Association of Secondary School Principals and HEB Excellence in Education in 2007 and 2008, respectively.
To be picked from many people who are doing outstanding work all over the place, it is an honor, and it's very humbling.
After a successful run as a principal, Mrs. Peterson took what she implemented at Weslaco East to increase the standards across the board for the entire district, preparing students for higher education or vocational careers. She spent the last 5 years as assistant superintendent of schools, leading and mentoring secondary administrators.
From the get-go, she has demonstrated integrity and grace and commitment. I am going to miss her so much.
Her wealth of knowledge and skill rubbed off on some administrators who today are current principals.
I think from walking down the hallway, picking up trash in the cafeteria, walking around saying hello to the kids, that is something that has really stuck in my mind.
I consider it an honor to hold the job that I do. I look forward to coming to work every day because I have the opportunity to be with these outstanding young people.
40 years, giving her heart, giving her soul to inspire children. Because in the end, it's all about them and the impact you make. But life lessons also come with appreciation and gratitude.
We love you, Miss Peterson.